I'm Mike Avila at SYFY WIRE's interview studio at San Diego Comic-Con. And today I am joined by Walt Simonson, the great Walt Simonson, who is also here promoting a brand new book from IDW, the Thor Artist Edition. And I mean, it is spectacular. I want you guys to get a good look at this. It's a behemoth of a book, befitting this legendary run. I don't mean to embarrass you and whatnot, but let's be honest. This is the Thor that for countless fans is the definitive run, which is saying something considering the greats that preceded you on this book.
I lucked out.
But about the book, putting these books together is always a challenge for IDW staff because they got to go and track down the artwork. It's a treasure hunt because the art is out there, floating around in the ether, buried in black hole collections. But you have always been smart enough to hold on to all your original art.
Well, I would like to say it's because I was bright enough to know that 40 years after I got into comics, they'd be doing artist editions, but that was not really it. Part of it is that in the very beginning when I was in comics, reproduction in comics was just, it was on newsprint, it was crummy paper, it was crummy printing. They went to plastic plates. If you drew a very fine line like that, it would turn into a sine wave. A very small sine wave, but you needed a bold style to really reproduce. And also, when you shrink things down, this is true for all illustration, all your mistakes get smaller. And the idea is that you can do something really large, and once it's really small, the mistakes become invisible, really. And so I wanted to be able to study my work and look at it and see where I'd screwed up and how I could not do that the next time around. So I made a habit of saving my art as early as I could. I got into comics before they were giving art back, but they eventually gave back what they could find. Mm-hmm. And so I kept it from then on. And then eventually, in the late 70s, I sold a page. I got offered good money for it by those standards in 78 or whatever it was. And then I spent the money, I didn't have the page. I thought, what was the point of that? And I've been lucky enough that I haven't needed to sell the artwork in order to kind of make a living. Been very fortunate in that regard. So I didn't sell any more pages after that. And I just have like an old dragon, or I'm like Scrooge McDuck. I have my giant money pile. And
sitting on a pile of pages.
I swim in it and I dive like a porpoise and whatever it is that Scrooge did. And so I don't do any of that stuff. So I have a closet at home that's pretty high. And it turned out to be, I have a whole second career in artist editions. I have a bunch of them that have come out from different companies even, but mostly from IDW, and I'm really proud of this one.
Talk about finding those pages. So they call you, we want to do something special on, this is the second volume.
That's right.
Of your Thor run, which ran almost 4 years.
Almost, yes.
Almost 4 years. Talk about the feelings when I'm assuming you don't go through that closet digging through pages once a week. Oh, look at this. How great was page 3 of issue 4, 390. But did it take you back to those times, like when you look and, I'm just gonna open up a page at 349? 349, page 24, and you look at a page like this as you're putting them together, like, do you remember like what you were thinking of? Because you were also writing the book.
I don't remember all the individual drawings I've done. At this point, I've done a lot of drawings. And my idea really is that I started drawing before I was 4, too young to remember. My mom told me, so I believed her. And I've done a lot of drawings since then, and it's all one big drawing. And eventually, it'll all come out over here somewhere when I don't draw anymore, however that happens. So I don't remember the drawing specifically. This particular issue I do remember. I'm often very late at my deadlines. If any of my former editors are watching this, they're going to be falling out of their chairs. Like very late probably is an understatement. But this one, I was going to a convention in Spain. I'd never been to Spain before. I had to write an issue, and so this is before laptops. Probably 80, or before laptops for me anyway, 85, somewhere in there, 84. And so literally, I wrote it on a yellow pad, longhand, on the airplane on the 7-hour flight to Madrid. Mm-hmm. And after I wrote it, I went back and I edited it, and then I began writing a clean copy. And then finally, when I was done, I was putting the last period on the script as we touched down in Madrid at 7 in the morning. It was a red eye. I was completely exhausted. My idea was I would find a FedEx office, I would deliver the stuff, I'd get it back to New York. There were no FedEx offices. There was nothing. So 4 or 5 days later, I was in England before I came home. I called my wife up and I read her the script over the phone, which she copied down, and then we sent the script in. So probably the most expensive script from my point of view that I've done in my career. But I remember that from this, and it worked out fine. I'm happy with it, but it was really. So I do think of stories like that, when I see different pages from the art, I do think, if not the individual drawing, something about the stories that I remember.
Beta Ray Bill is such an amazing character that you brought to life. I'm wondering, as we see the Marvel Universe expand and whatnot on screen, are you hoping that he makes it in there? I mean,
it would be
how
cool.
can you not?
It would be cool. I mean, a couple of my characters have made it in here and there, and I actually made it into the first Thor film. I have a cameo for about a nanosecond at the end of the movie at the banquet scene. I'm sitting to SYFY's left at the banquet scene. The actors were a riot. They were very kind to us. We had a great time. And it was a lot of fun. It made movie making look like it might actually be fun. But really, I mean, if they do a bill, my only real thing about that is my wife's had a couple of her characters in the movies. They've not always been great. And so what I would love to see, like in Thor Ragnarok, if Bill's not there, I get it, but I would love to see a good script. And we know now that you take special effects for granted. They do a great job, a lot of that stuff. I'd like to see good writing. I'd like to see a good story, good characterization. If they put Bill in there, I'd love to see him well done. And just for the record, this reproduction, this is the first drawing of Bill I ever did. I don't usually do model sheets because that's too much work. So I just draw the character. I had to do a poster for an advertisement for my run on Thor when I was starting out. So I drew this. I had the idea I wanted to do, what I wanted to do with the character. I had a lot of stuff figured out. And my first drawing was this drawing of Bill. And it worked out okay, so I stayed with it.